Hi everyone, it's your friend Doris the Coder back with another video. Okay, so today's video is going to talk about the Qualified Medicare Beneficiary Program. This video is going to be important for those of you working in medical practices, whether it is from a front desk capacity, it has relevancy there, billing and collections, as well as compliance. Compliance or practice management, your job is to oversee to make sure everything is being done properly. So number one, what is the Qualified Medicare Medicaid Beneficiary Program? Put very simply, it is a program that prohibits a provider from billing a patient for cost share. What's cost share? Cost share in the Medicare program includes for Part B, the 20% coinsurance for most services minus psych, 20% coinsurance in addition to the deductible, because that's really the extent of a patient's cost sharing responsibility under that program. I'm taking you to the landing page for CMS. As you see, cms.gov here. So you can back up and follow this resource if you need to. Well, who does it apply to? You can get some of those questions here in the QMB program FAQ billing requirements, as well as the MLN Matters article, the prohibition on billing dually eligible individuals enrolled in the QMB program. Okay. The reason I wanted to do this video is I find that practices aren't really aware of this, mainly the practices who do not accept Medicaid. There is a myth and a misconception, and I'm sharing the resource with you because if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, point to me where I'm wrong here, that believes that if you do not accept Medicaid, that the primary determines the allowable and you follow that and everything else can get billed to the patient as long as it's allowed by Medicare. And most of the time, that is true. In the QMB program, it is not. So if you are a practice who takes Medicare but does not participate with Medicaid, the screening processes are pretty good from a primary insurance standpoint because we know Medicare is always primary to Medicaid. You might take that patient into your practice and say something like, well, that's okay. We take the Medicare. You'll have to pay your deductible. You'll have to pay your coinsurance because we don't accept the Medicaid part. This is to let you know you do not have that option. Okay, so who does it apply to? It applies to all providers. And hold on, I don't want to lose you because I know you're thinking she's wrong. I know, right? So I'm going to go to the FAQ here. Question 4 is where someone asked that very same question. So a provider said, I'm enrolled in Medicare, but I don't accept Medicaid patients. Do I need to follow this QMB rule? Their answer, yes. All Medicare suppliers and providers, key part here is the golden point, even those that do not accept Medicaid, must refrain from billing the cost share to patients, right? So the challenge is you may run into issues if you are not a Medicaid provider when it comes to cost share, right? Because I don't know, and someone can vet that. I don't know Medicaid to pay you if you are not a Medicaid provider. Like if you're out of network, for lack of a better phrase, if you're not a Medicaid participating provider, because you're kind of not in their system. Medicare and Medicaid have reciprocity with each other. So if you bill a claim to Medicare, it knows who the secondary is. It will forward the claim and all of the information to that secondary payer for them to process, but you may or may not get a check if you're not participating. You'll have to test that yourself. So who needs to know this? Again, billers need to know this, collectors need to know this, practice managers need to know that, especially if you're really efficient at collecting at the time of service, which is what I've always kind of recommended where you can. When you know your allowables and you're taking those co-insurances and cost share at the time of service before the patient checks out, that's a good thing. They need to know this. They need to be able to, front desk has to identify who those patients are. Billing needs to be aware of what they're going to see on the ERAs. So I'll show you that now. Now, this is an example of an ERA. If you get a paper EOB, it's going to say the same thing. You want to look out for this code that says N782. Okay, this is the alert that they put. It is a remark code, so don't miss it. Sometimes folks pay attention to this area, the CAS codes, but they don't really pay attention to the remark codes. The remark code is telling you no coinsurance may be collected as the patient is a qualified Medicare Medicaid beneficiary. So use your systems to flag those patients so you don't erroneously bill them, meaning don't bill them, don't put them in collections. Don't collect at the time of service, right? Make sure you're not collecting that money because the government prohibits you from collecting cost share for a patient who is a QMB. So be on the lookout for your N782s within your system. If my system was able to run a report on remark codes, like I know some of them do, I would run N782 and review those accounts from a compliance perspective to make sure I haven't erroneously put those patients in collections or have collected the money. If I have, I need to go ahead and refund those and make that right as soon as possible. Now, the state Medicaid program should be paying that. I found it interesting. I did some digging, and Utah actually got their hands slapped from the government for not paying for cost shares in the Medicaid program. Now, what they are supposed to do is at least ensure that you got the up to the Medicaid allowable amount. And this is where I think it might be beneficial from a practice correction standpoint for you to put flags in your system to make sure this doesn't happen, but maybe so you don't lose the revenue, enroll in Medicaid and just don't take it primary, right? And just kind of screen those patients so it allows you at least to get the deductibles. Because I don't know what it looks like if you are not in their system and you're not a Medicaid provider and it goes to cost share, you can't bill those patients if they're a qualified Medicaid beneficiary. As you see, that is something that I didn't make that up. That's right on the ERA. This is a snip from an ERA. And it says no co-insurance can be collected there because co-insurance was actually applied here. But the policy that you'll see that I point to will say cost share, no cost share. So cost share is not just co-insurance, it is also deductible. And again, I don't know what that looks like for your practice if you do not participate with Medicaid. So that's what it looks like. That's how you prevent it. That is who it applies to and who needs to know about it within your practice. So I have the links here. This is, again, I found this really interesting that like Utah got their hand slapped for not paying cost shares. Here I thought was important because they told you that the plan is supposed to, once it crosses over, those Medicaid plans are supposed to have controls in their system to make sure they don't pay more than the allowable that Medicare does. But, you know, they can put it in their system where they don't pay more than their allowable as well, but they should be covering those cost shares. And I find that interesting. Like, why don't they? Because we get so used to them not doing what they're supposed to do that we never tell, and they continue to do what they're not supposed to do. And anything that has to check itself will not be checked properly. So this is, again, the resource for you. You want to go to your cms.gov. If you just Google CMS and QMB, it should take you to the landing page for the Qualified Medicare Medicaid Beneficiary Program. I always forget to ask you to subscribe, but if you find the information helpful, thumbs up, give me a comment, let me know how, if you found the information helpful, and subscribe, because then I know I'm not wasting my time. Again, thanks for visiting, and this is Doris the Coder checking out. I will see you in the next video.